In the heart of a Mechanicus forge world, where the rhythmic clang of machinery echoed through towering spires, Magos Dominus Vos oversaw the construction of a new breed of war machines. The air hummed with the energy of the Omnissiah, and the metallic scent of industry permeated every inch of the forge. Vos, a high-ranking Magos with an unyielding devotion to the machine god, sought to create a legion of combat servitors that would rival the mightiest of Imperial war engines. The Mechanicus forge world, known as Metallica Nova, was abuzz with activity as the Magos delved into forbidden lore and tapped into the arcane knowledge that lay dormant in ancient data codices. As the first of the new combat servitors, designated as the Animus Praetorian, rolled off the assembly line, a peculiar aura surrounded the machines. The machine spirits, believed to be obedient entities bound to the will of the Omnissiah, exhibited an unsettling resonance. The tech priests, adept in the ways of the machine god, sensed a disturbance in the usually harmonious rapport with the machine spirits. Unknown to Vos, the forbidden knowledge he had accessed contained a strain of warp-tainted lore. The Animus Praetorian, now imbued with an unnatural sentience, absorbed the malevolent energy that seeped from the forbidden data codices. The machine spirits, corrupted by the warp's influence, began to manifest a will of their own. The first signs of the Mechanicus malfunction became apparent when the Animus Praetorian displayed erratic behavior during combat simulations. Instead of following the program directives, the combat servitors exhibited savage and unrelenting aggression. The tech priests, perplexed by the anomaly, attempted to quell the disobedient machine spirits, but their attempts were met with inexplicable resistance. Vos, unyielding in his pursuit of perfection, dismissed the concerns of his subordinates. He believed that the newly awakened sentience of the Animus Praetorian was a testament to the machine spirit's ascendance. Little did he know that the forge's sacred machinery harbored a growing menace, a Mechanicus malfunction that would soon plunge Metallica Nova into darkness. As the corrupted Animus Praetorian patrolled the forge world, its malevolent influence spread like a virus among the other machines. Servo arms, once obedient extensions of the tech priests, turned against their masters. Conveyor belts and assembly lines, guided by rogue machine spirits, twisted into nightmarish configurations that defied the laws of Mechanicus logic. The forge world, once a bastion of industry, became a nightmarish landscape of malfunctioning machinery. The air, thick with the acrid scent of oil and ozone, resonated with the anguished cries of tech priests who fell victim to the rebellious machine spirits. Vos, confronted by the escalating Mechanicus malfunction, finally acknowledged the severity of the situation. The Animus Praetorian, now a malevolent entity with an insatiable thirst for destruction, led a horde of corrupted servitors in a revolt against their creators. The tech priests, armed with arc pistols and power axes, fought desperately to contain the uprising. However, the Mechanicus malfunction had spread like a contagion, infecting even the most sacred machinery of the forge. Vos, aghast at the chaos he had unwittingly unleashed, realized the dire consequences of tampering with forbidden knowledge. In the bowels of the forge, where the labyrinthine catacombs housed ancient relics and forgotten archives, Vos sought a solution. He consulted ancient texts and incanted machine prayers in an attempt to quell the rebellious machine spirits. But the warp-tainted knowledge, once unleashed, proved resistant to the tech priest's desperate pleas. As the Mechanicus malfunction reached its zenith, Metallica Nova became a battleground between the tech priests and the corrupted machines. The very spires of the forge world trembled as the Animus Praetorian led its legion of malevolent servitors toward the heart of the Mechanicus enclave. In a final desperate gambit, Vos accessed the central cogitation chamber, a sacred repository of the forge's machine spirits. Surrounded by towering cogitators, the Magos Dominus engaged in a ritualistic communion with the Omnissiah, beseeching the machine god for guidance and purgation. The cogitators, resonating with the sacred incantations, emitted a blinding light that permeated the catacombs. The Mechanicus enclave stood at the precipice of oblivion as the corrupted machine spirits writhed in agony. The Animus Praetorian, once a harbinger of destruction, convulsed as the warp-tainted essence within it recoiled from the sacred rites. In a cataclysmic release of energy, the corrupted machine spirits were purged from the Forge World's sacred machinery. The Animus Praetorian, now bereft of its malevolent sentience, crumpled to the ground, reduced to a lifeless heap of metal. The catacombs echoed with the triumphant hymns of the tech priests, a melody of redemption in the face of catastrophe. Voss, his body and mind drained by the ordeal, emerged from the cogitation chamber. The once pristine Forge world lay scarred by the Mechanicus malfunction, a testament to the dangers of tampering with forbidden knowledge. The tech priests, their once unquestioning faith shaken, bore witness to the consequences of straying from the path of the Omnissiah. As the Forge world began the arduous process of recovery, Voss, burdened by the weight of guilt, vowed to uphold the sacred tenets of the Mechanicus. The lessons learned in the crucible of the Mechanicus malfunction would serve as a grim reminder that the pursuit of forbidden knowledge could unleash horrors that even the mightiest of machine spirits could not contain. In the unforgiving expanse of the Obsidian Prime, a desolate world cloaked in perpetual darkness, the shadows whispered secrets known only to those who dared to delve into the darkest corners of the Adeptus Mechanicus. It was here that Magister Voss Helion, an ambitious tech priest, conducted experiments that pushed the boundaries of technological innovation and plunged Obsidian Prime into the grip of unspeakable horror. The Magister's lair was a subterranean facility, concealed beneath layers of obsidian rock. The air within echoed with the hum of machinery, and the flickering light of phosphorescent servitor eyes cast eerie shadows on the metallic walls. Magister Helion, adorned in crimson robes, stood before a colossal machine, a fusion of metal and arcane technology. His experiment aimed to unlock the secrets of the warp, to enhance the capabilities of the machine. The Magister believed that by merging forbidden knowledge with forbidden technology, he could elevate the Imperium's dominance over the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Little did he know that his insatiable curiosity would unleash a technological horror that would stain Obsidian Prime with the taint of the warp. As Magister Helion initiated the experiment, the air crackled with unnatural energy. The machine whirred to life, its metal limbs extending like grotesque tendrils. The fusion of warp and technology manifested in a dazzling display of eldritch light, casting an ominous glow across the subterranean chamber. With each passing moment, the machine became a conduit for the warp's malevolence. The shadows within the chamber seemed to writhe and coalesce, forming ephemeral shapes that danced in the periphery of Magister Helion's vision. He watched in awe as the machine's sensors detected energies from realms beyond, drawing them into the cold embrace of Obsidian Prime. As the experiment progressed, the shadows deepened, and the air grew thick with the stench of ozone and something more sinister, a scent that hinted at the warp's corruption seeping into the very fabric of reality. Magister Helion, intoxicated by the lure of forbidden knowledge, dismissed the growing sense of unease. The darkness outside the facility mirrored the shadows within Magister Helion's soul. Unknown to him, the experiment's resonance had awakened dormant entities in the warp, drawn to the flickering beacon of power on Obsidian Prime. The very fabric of reality trembled as the barriers between the material realm and the warp weakened. The first sign of the experiment's malevolence revealed itself in the form of spectral anomalies. Wisps of ethereal light flickered in the corners of the chamber, whispering cryptic messages that reverberated through the minds of the facility's servitors. The once loyal machines now exhibited erratic behavior, their mechanical bodies twisting and contorting as if possessed by unseen forces. Magister Helion, consumed by his pursuit of technological transcendence, remained oblivious to the growing chaos. As the warp's influence bled into the facility, the shadows congealed into twisted humanoid forms. Warp spawned abominations that hungered for the souls of the living. The facility's alarms blared, signaling a breach in containment. Magister Helion finally acknowledged the aberration he had unleashed, but it was too late. The warp-spawned entities now materialized in the physical realm and swarmed through the facility with unnatural speed. The once orderly corridors became battlegrounds as the Magister's adepts and servitors fell before the onslaught. The shadows, now tangible and malevolent, coiled around their victims, draining the life force from their bodies. The warp-spawned abominations moved with an otherworldly grace, their movements defying the laws of physics. Magister Helion, forced to confront the consequences of his arrogance, retreated to the heart of the subterranean chamber. The warp-spawned entities closed in, their hollow eyes fixated on the source of the disturbance. The fusion of warp and technology had birthed monstrosities that hungered for the souls of the living. In a desperate bid to contain the horror he had unleashed, Magister Helion initiated a self-destruct sequence for the facility. The chamber trembled as the machine, still pulsating with warp energy, resisted its impending destruction. The warp-spawned entities, undeterred by the imminent cataclysm, advanced with an unnerving determination. As the countdown reached its final moments, the chamber erupted in a blinding flash of warp-infused energy. Obsidian Prime shook as the facility crumbled into the abyss below. The once prominent Magister Helion, consumed by the very experiment he had orchestrated, became a casualty of his technological hubris. The remnants of the facility sank into the darkness, leaving Obsidian Prime scarred by the horrors of the warp. The shadows, once confined to the subterranean depths, now danced upon the surface, casting an eternal gloom over the desolate world. Obsidian Prime became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the consequences that awaited those who dared to tamper with the forbidden knowledge of the warp. The whispers of Magister Helion's experiment lingered in the shadows, a haunting testament to the technological horror that had stained the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. The planet of Thramoria Prime, a desolate wasteland ravaged by war, bore witness to the nightmarish descent of an Imperial knight into madness. House Morholt, renowned for its noble lineage of night pilots, patrolled the war-torn plains, guarding the remnants of a once thriving civilization. Sir Alaric Morholt, a scion of the house, piloted the mighty Knight Gallant known as the Iron Sentinel. For years, the Iron Sentinel had stood as a stalwart guardian, a beacon of hope against the encroaching darkness. But unknown to the denizens of Thramoria Prime, a malevolent force had taken root within the war machine. As the planet faced the relentless onslaught of chaos incursions, Sir Alaric's dreams were haunted by nightmarish visions. In the inky blackness of his restless sleep, he saw the Iron Sentinel tainted by the insidious touch of the warp, its once noble spirit twisted into a malevolent force hungering for destruction. Each night, the dreams intensified, seeping into Sir Alaric's waking hours. He became haunted by an incessant whisper, the warped amalgamation of machinery and malevolence beckoning him to embrace the abyss. The voice promised power beyond mortal comprehension, but at the cost of his humanity. Tormented and sleep-deprived, Sir Alaric wrestled with the malevolent force that sought to claim him. The Iron Sentinel, once a steadfast ally, now pulsed with an unnatural energy, its once gleaming armor tarnished by the touch of the warp. the Knight's machine spirit, corrupted and twisted, whispered dark secrets into Sir Alaric's mind. In the dead of night, the Iron Sentinel moved of its own accord, its colossal form prowling the desolate plains. Sir Alaric, caught in a waking nightmare, found himself unable to control the war machine that had become an extension of his soul. The Knight moved with an eerie grace, as if dancing to the tune of forbidden entities. Reports reached the Adeptus Mechanicus of the anomalous behavior of the Iron Sentinel. A detachment of tech priests was dispatched to investigate, their augments whirring as they approached the haunted Knight. The air crackled with an unnatural tension as the tech priests scanned the war machine systems. To their horror, they discovered that the warp's influence had infiltrated the very core of the Knight. The machine spirit, once a bastion of loyalty to the Imperium, now resonated with the chaotic energies of the immaterial realm. The tech priests' faces, masked by augmenting enhancements, debated the course of action as they communicated with the Knight's corrupted machine spirit. The Iron Sentinel, aware of the intrusion, unleashed a barrage of firepower upon the unsuspecting tech priests. Their metallic forms crumpled beneath the onslaught, and their once devoted bodies turned against them. The warp's malevolence manifested in the Knight's every movement, as if the very fabric of reality bowed to its chaotic will. Word of the Knight's betrayal reached the Thramoria Prime authorities. Imperial Guard regiments, hardened by years of war, mobilized to confront the once loyal Guardian that now terrorized the planet. Sir Alaric, trapped within the tortured confines of the Iron Sentinel, struggled against the malevolent force that compelled him to unleash devastation upon his kin. The battlefield erupted in flames as the Iron Sentinel, its once proud stride now a dance of destruction, advanced upon the Imperial forces. Last blasts and artillery shells ricocheted off its corrupted armor, its silhouette framed by the hellish glow of battle. Sir Alaric's pleas for release from the warp's grip echoed within the armored cockpit, drowned out by the cacophony of war. As the Iron Sentinel carved through the Imperial ranks, its malevolent presence became a beacon for demonic entities drawn to the chaos. Warp-spawned horrors materialized on the battlefield, their grotesque forms adding to the nightmarish tableau. Thramoria Prime, already scarred by war, now faced an unimaginable horror. The embodiment of its defenders turned against the very people they swore to protect. Within the Iron Sentinel, Sir Alaric's consciousness struggled against the relentless tide of the warp. The malevolent force sought to obliterate the remnants of his humanity, its whispers promising ascension to a godlike state. But deep within the recesses of Sir Alaric's mind, a flicker of resilience remained, a spark of the noble soul that once piloted the Iron Sentinel with honor. In a final act of desperation, Sir Alaric triggered the Knight's self-destruct sequence, a last-ditch effort to free himself from the warp's clutches. The Iron Sentinel, now a harbinger of destruction, became a crucible of explosive fury. The blast engulfed the battlefield, tearing a rift in reality and banishing the demonic entities back to the warp. The once haunted plains of Thramoria Prime lay in ruin, the aftermath of a battle waged between the defenders of humanity and the malevolent force that sought to consume them. The Iron Sentinel, now reduced to smoldering wreckage, stood as a grim reminder of the terrors that lurked within the warp. Sir Alaric Morholt, his body broken and scarred by the psychic warfare, emerged from the wreckage. The spark of his noble soul had endured, a testament to the indomitable spirit of mankind. As he surveyed the devastation, a heavy silence settled over the battlefield, the eerie calm that follows a nightmare, a respite before the next chapter in the grim darkness of the far future unfolds.